Well, certainly not a dull moment in Israel as Israeli forces intercepted an infiltration attempt at the Rafah border. The IDF also targeted a suspected terrorist command center, sparking tensions amid ceasefire negotiations with Hamas. ILTV's Mayan Hoffman has the story.
Early Thursday morning, Israeli forces intercepted an attempted infiltration at the Rafah border. The incident, starting around 4 a.m., involved 4 terrorists nearing the border between the Kerem Shalom and Halit areas. IDF observers, spotting the group on radar, quickly raised the alarm. A Bedouin reconnaissance battalion stationed in the area responded, resulting in an exchange of gunfire. The IDF deployed a drone and a tank, neutralizing 3 terrorists 400 meters from the border fence within the Gaza Strip. The status of the 4th member, who appears to have fled, remains unknown. Authorities noted that the terrorists were armed with RPGs in addition to lighter weaponry. This infiltration attempt raises concerns about security protocols, given the fighters' proximity to the Israeli fence, despite ongoing efforts to fortify the border area. In a separate operation overnight, the IDF targeted an UNRWA school in the Nusalit refugee camp that it says served as a command center for terrorists. The strike killed 20 to 30 individuals identified by the IDF as terrorists, some of whom were involved in the October 7th massacre against Israel. The IDF stressed that the airstrikes were meticulously planned, even with delays to ensure civilian safety. However, this assertion was contested by Hamas, which maintained that those killed were civilians and denied the presence of military operations within the school. Additionally, on Wednesday, the IDF destroyed a significant Hamas tunnel in Rafah, used for weapon smuggling. This tunnel is part of a broader network, with the IDF having uncovered approximately 20 tunnels and 82 related shafts since the start of the war. Amidst these military actions, Israel continues its broader campaign in Gaza against insurgent tactics, without pausing, even for ceasefire negotiations. Despite international efforts to broker peace, Hamas reportedly has said that it rejected a recent ceasefire and hostage negotiation proposal due to disagreements over key terms, like IDF withdrawal and cessation of hostilities. Nonetheless, the U.S. remains engaged in trying to move its deal forward, with officials visiting Doha and Cairo to promote the hostage deal. The State Department said no official response has come from Hamas. Therefore, it remains hopeful.
Well, an Israel Defense Forces reserve soldier was killed and 10 others were wounded in a Hezbollah drone attack in northern Israel, targeting the predominantly Druze town of Houthis. In retaliation, Israel conducted airstrikes and artillery shelling on several Hezbollah targets inside Lebanon.
An Israel Defense Forces reserve soldier lost his life and 10 others were injured following an attack by Hezbollah using drones loaded with explosives in northern Israel, according to military and medical officials. The IDF confirmed on Thursday morning the death of Staff Sergeant Rafael Kauters, a 39-year-old from Sur Hadassah. Kauters served as a coordinator for the military rabbinate. Hezbollah employed what it described as kamikaze drones in an attack on Wednesday that struck the town of Houthis, predominantly Druze and located just a few kilometers from the Lebanon border. The IDF is looking into why no warning siren sounded as at least 2 drones hit the area. The terror group from Lebanon claimed responsibility, stating they targeted an Israeli military site near Houthis. Local reports indicate a soccer field in the town was hit, though the identities of other casualties were not immediately disclosed. Television footage showed military vehicles and rising smoke at the site. Following the attack, Israel retaliated overnight by targeting Hezbollah sites in Lebanon. This included strikes on a Hezbollah observation post near Khiyam, a military structure near Aita Ashab, and several other Hezbollah-related locations in Nakora and Matmura. The IDF also conducted artillery shelling across southern Lebanon to counteract further threats. Since October 8th, Hezbollah has consistently launched attacks against Israeli communities and military posts along the border, stating its actions support Gaza amid the ongoing conflict. Attacks by Hezbollah on Sunday night led to significant fires across the north, only intensifying the situation. The ongoing border skirmishes have thus far resulted in the deaths of 10 Israeli civilians and 15 IDF soldiers and reservists.
Well, a clip of an American commentator and former press secretary for presidential candidate Bernie Sanders is going viral today after she interviewed Yarden Gonen, the sister of Israeli hostage Romi Gonen, who's still being held in Gaza since October 7th. During the interview, Brianna Joy Gray rolled her eyes when Gonen urged the public to believe Israeli women when they speak out about sexual assault before cutting her off.
And I really hope that you specifically will believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right, thanks for joining. Stick around, more Rising coming up next.
Her conduct prompted harsh condemnation on social media, including from Democratic members of U.S. Congress like Richie Torres, who stated that her hatred for Israel is so visceral that it renders her indifferent to the value of Jewish life. Gray's comments came just days after a debate in which she claimed Hamas does not have genocidal intent towards Jews and that the terror group is seeking to establish a democracy like the United States. After losing the debate, the New Republic reported she accused the audience of Islamophobia before storming off the stage and telling the moderator, "I hope someone drops a bomb on this building." Once again, we see the fanaticism of the anti-Israel radicals is not about pursuing a better life for Palestinians. Rather, it's about hating Israel. Yemen's Houthis attacked more ships in the Red Sea and Arabian Sea, targeting vessels with missiles and drones in support of Palestinians in Gaza. They warned all foreign ships to leave the area, claiming their operations were highly precise and successful. ILTV's Mayan Hoffman has more.
Yemen's Houthis conducted military operations against 3 ships in the Red Sea and Arabian Sea, according to their military spokesperson. The Houthi militia, which controls much of Yemen and is backed by Iran, has been attacking ships off its coast for months in support of the Palestinians in Gaza. The spokesperson said in a televised speech that Houthi militants targeted 2 ships, Rosa and Vantage Dream, in the Red Sea, using missiles and drones. The 3rd ship, a U.S. vessel, was targeted in the Arabian Sea with drones. In addition, British security firm Ambry reported that a Greek-owned bulk carrier was allegedly targeted by the Houthis while traveling north in the Red Sea toward Israel. The Houthis claimed in an official Telegram statement that their operations were highly precise and successful. They warned all foreign companies and ships to leave the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea to avoid being targeted.
Well, the Iranian nuclear program has long been of global concern as the Islamic Republic continues to defy the IAEA and refuses to cooperate. Despite the Biden administration's reservations, the IAEA did pass a vote calling on the Islamic Republic to change course. Let's take a closer look. The International Atomic Energy Agency, comprised of 25 nations, has passed another resolution, 20-2, with 12 abstentions, calling on the Islamic Republic to comply with the IAEA and reverse its ban on inspectors at Iranian nuclear sites. The 2 countries which voted against the resolution were Russia and China. This followed a previous resolution in 2022 calling on the regime to comply with the IAEA investigation into uranium traces found at undeclared sites. Since September, the Islamic Republic has barred IAEA inspectors, and as of today, the IAEA has no idea how many centrifuges the regime has or where they're located. Prior to the passing of the resolution, the Islamic Republic stated they would retaliate if the resolution did indeed pass, but did not specify what that entails. In response to previous resolutions, the Islamic Republic has responded by closing surveillance cameras, restricting visits, or even expelling inspectors. The United States, prior to the resolution, also expressed concern and even urged European nations not to amplify pressure on the Islamic Republic for fears of retaliation. However, they ultimately did vote in favor. Today, Iran is enriching uranium at 60% purity, which is 90% of weapons-grade uranium. If the enrichment continues, Iran has enough material for 3 nuclear weapons. There is no civilian purpose for enrichment of uranium at this level. This, of course, comes at a time when Tehran continues to fund terror proxies, waging wars across the Middle East, and while the Islamic Republic is threatening to eliminate the State of Israel. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz welcomed the resolution, stating that the free world must stop Iran now before it's too late. For almost 2 decades, Jewish National Fund USA has offered an extraordinary opportunity for college students and young adults to make a tangible difference in Israel through its Alternative Break program. The immersive experience has enabled over 3,000 Zionists from 18 to 24 to visit Israel and experience volunteering, touring, and education programs, allowing participants to forge a profound connection to the land and people of Israel. In recent months, Alternative Break participants have volunteered alongside communities affected by October 7th, assisting with tasks ranging from cooking to daycare, assistance, laundry, farm work, and cleanup efforts. While most college students are now on vacation, over 100 young people from across the United States chose to come to Israel this week to show their support and roll up their sleeves. We are joined by Bali Levine from Tulane University, originally from Santa Barbara, California, and Jake Stone from the University of Colorado Boulder, originally from Seattle, Washington. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure.
Bali, let's start with you. What initially motivated you to sign up for JNF USA's alternative break experience?
I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to be surrounded by other Zionists on campus throughout the year. Many of us fight for our right to exist as Zionists and Jewish students on our college campuses. So to have the opportunity to volunteer in Israel with other motivated colleagues is something that we're extremely grateful for and do not take for granted.
Now, what are some of the ways that you have been supporting communities during your visit here?
Well, communities know what they need in order to rebuild and in order to grow, so we listen to them, and JNF, Jewish National Fund USA, has great partnerships with them. So each of our days have entailed, we've done different activities which have varied from constructions and building trash can holders to beautifying playgrounds and painting benches and planting trees, and also just sharing the stories of these communities. Part of what we could take back from this program is, of course, Hasbara and sharing what we've learned. And I strongly believe one of the best ways we can support these Israelis is to share their stories, both at large and from 10/7.
Have your perceptions of the realities on the ground in Israel changed since arriving here?
I would say my expectations have definitely been exceeded. My initial perception of the current state of affairs here would be something where spirit and optimism was definitely at an all-time low. But within the first couple of days of being on the ground, speaking with Israelis, spending time in their communities, I was actually pleasantly surprised that it was the exact opposite. I've been to this country many times over the past couple of years, and I think this is the most alive the country has ever felt. And it's very surprising, just given just the incredible amount of adversity and hardship this community has endured.
Now, what would you say to other young adults who are considering traveling to Israel with JNF USA?
I would say if there's ever been a time for people to come to the land of Israel and help, it's now. I understand people's hesitations and reservations about traveling at this time. Obviously, with the current climate and the current conflict, it's something that we are constantly reminded. Probably every couple hours that we've been here. So it's something that plays a role in the path that we've taken so far over the past few days. But I would say that for those who have supported the state of Israel, since October 7th, but even before, I believe that now is the time to really step up and essentially put their money where their mouth is. I think it's something that, is absolutely necessary at a time like this.
So this is a question for both of you. How are you taking what you've learned on this trip and what you've seen here back to your campuses?
I'm scared I'm not going to remember everything that we've done on this trip. We've done so many incredible things. I keep writing it down so I don't forget. One of the best things we can do is go back on our campus and be those pro-Israel and Zionist leaders that our campuses need, and engage in that Hasbara, engage in dialogue and such. And obviously we're excited for the Jewish National Fund Conference this coming fall. So, this trip, run by Jewish National Fund USA in partnership with Shorashim, has students supporting Israel, which is a national movement, as well as Yavne on campus. And to be surrounded by this great group has really inspired me to continue my activism throughout the summer also as well. Just because school's out doesn't mean we have to stop supporting Israel, and I don't think any of us have plans, to be less engaged. So we're super excited to get back to school in August and continue to fight for the Jewish people and fight for Israel.
And Jake, what about you?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Wally more. I would say, campus climate across the nation has really seen this drastic change and this drastic, complete 180, especially on my campus as well. And at times, advocating for Israel in such a hostile environment can really, it can wear you down over time. It's been, 6-7 months since the conflict on October 7th started. But I'm feeling more personally, and I can definitely speak on other, young adults' behalf. We're feeling more recharged. So I'm feeling personally, ready to go, ready to get back to it.
Bali and Jake, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Take care. Cheers.
Well, yesterday marked Jerusalem Day in Israel, celebrating the reunification of the capital of Israel. But of course, not without controversy. At the annual controversial Flag March, 18 suspects were arrested for violent offenses, threats, or disorderly conduct. In one instance, a reporter was attacked by right-wing Jewish radicals who threw objects on him. And in another, several cameramen were attacked while covering the Flag March. Marchers also shouted racist chants, including May Your Village Burn, and also plastered stickers of Rabbi Meir Kahane, founder of the Kach Party, which is outlawed in Israel and widely considered to be a terror group. Israeli National Security Minister at the scene stated, "We are sending a message to Hamas. Jerusalem is ours. Damascus Gate is ours. The Temple Mount is ours." The Prime Minister's office responded to Ben Gvir's comments by affirming that the status quo at the Temple Mount had not and will not change. The police also affirmed that the Flag March was not ever intended to go through the Temple Mount, nor is there a change in the status quo despite incendiary comments from Ben Gvir. In response to the Flag March, Saudi Arabia also came out with a strong condemnation, calling the march a provocation. Following Jerusalem Day and ongoing conflict in the north and in Gaza, here to speak with us about recent events and the path forward is Israeli MK Simcha Rotman.
Shalom, shalom. Thank you for having me.
To start, I'd really like to get your take on the events at the Flag March, specifically some of the violence that we saw from Jewish extremists and even some of the anti-Arab racist chants that were shouted there. Do you condemn these racist remarks, and what is being done to reject radicalism in Israel?
I think that talking about this, even giving it, of course, giving it the first impression on the Flag March is misguided, to say the least. Tens of thousands of people of all ages were walking through the street of Jerusalem, celebrating the Jerusalem Day. Someone decides to put a focus on a small group of people saying some things. That's the issue. That's the thing to talk about. That's the important thing. I'm not even saying that. I'm not even talking about taking the Flag March and flagging it as an extremist event or some claim like that. I'm just saying, really, that's the extremism that we need to fight in the Middle East. That's the problems. That's what's important for the media. I think that's a really misguided way to look at things, especially when we know what is the extremism we face. I think it's extremely insensitive even to talk about it when people, due to extremism, lost their lives, were raped, were murdered. And to talk about it, to use even the same term, it reminds me the ICC that says, "Oh, we need to investigate. Let's investigate Netanyahu and let's investigate Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar." It's extremism.
Certainly.
For me, it's been a terrible. I'm sorry. I know you're asking this question because that's the way some media try to outline those issues. But for me, it's a terrible question to ask and to answer.
I actually think you brought up a very valid point. The vast majority who took part in these celebrations in the Jerusalem Day Parade are, in fact, proud Zionists who are not in any way racist, which is why I wanted to give you an opportunity just to condemn some of those racist comments. But I do appreciate you pointing out false moral equivalencies. I would love to get your response to the government's rejection of Ben Gvir's statements that there is no change in the status quo on the Temple Mount. Do you agree with Minister Ben Gvir or the Prime Minister on this issue?
So the reality on the ground in the Temple Mount, I think is a problem, and the status quo there is constantly changing to, I would say, I'm not saying to the worst, but we over the years it became regular that the Jews are not allowed, and by the way, it's against the law in Israel, and it's against the international commitments of of the entire world, Jews are not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount. Jews are being limited on the way they walk on the Temple Mount, despite the fact that Jews do not pose any danger when they go on the Temple Mount. And we know from history that weapons and explosives and stones were brought in by Arabs. Arabs don't go through security checks, but Israelis and Jews are. So the situation on the Temple Mount is very strange, and it's very counterintuitive. I'm not talking now about policy and when and what is the best way to change the reality, but I think we all should agree that every religious and non-religious person who wants to pray, to daven, in a holy site should be allowed to do it. And the fact that today in Israel, because of threats of violence, there are limits on the ability to go on the Temple Mount and pray, it's a shame. I think we all need to work towards the day that those limits will be removed.
All right, Israeli MK Simcha Rothman, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And now, if you're not a new subscriber, you may remember the Hebrew word of the week, where each week, along with eTeacher, we learn a new Hebrew word and relate it to the Bible, current affairs, and our everyday lives. For more info on the Rosen School of Hebrew, please scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description.
Welcome to Hebrew Word of the Week. I'm Ariella, and in this segment, together with eTeacher, we explore the beauty and depth of the Hebrew language. We'll learn a new Hebrew word or phrase and see how it's used in the Bible, current events, and everyday life. Today's Hebrew word is chosen. It means resilience in Hebrew. Chosen embodies strength, fortitude, and the capacity to endure challenges and setbacks. It reflects the ability to recover quickly from difficulties and to adapt in the face of adversity. The word chosen holds profound significance within Hebrew culture and history. It conveys the resilience of individuals, communities, and nations in overcoming obstacles and preserving their identity and values. In Hebrew literature and scripture, chosen symbolizes the enduring spirit and determination to thrive amidst trials. In Hebrew, chosen is used to describe personal resilience and the collective strength of societies facing hardships or crises. Here are some examples of how the word chosen is used in a sentence. La'am Yisrael yesh chosen rav, meaning the people of Israel have great resilience, or ha-chosen halaomi hu ma she'me'ached otanu, meaning the national resilience is what unites us. So if you're interested in learning more about the Hebrew language, check out eTeacher. This online and live course is the most established Hebrew language instruction institution. You can learn with a time-proven method for every level or start from scratch. eTeacher offers dynamic online courses with live video lessons, weekly webinars, and ample support, and allows you to connect to a lively global community for an enriched learning experience. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Hebrew word chosen. Please join us next week for another episode of Hebrew Word of the Week. In the meantime, I encourage you to practice using the word chosen in your own life, and feel free to share your experiences with us in the comments below.
Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Mostly clear skies are expected tonight around the country, with lows of around 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, more clear skies and hot temperatures are expected, as we should see highs of about 37 degrees Celsius or 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Then over the weekend, a slight drop in temperatures that will lead us into next week. That's all for today's news. For more updates from Israel on all your devices, check out our ILTV channels, subscribe to our ILTV newsletter, and don't forget to check out our website, iltv.tv, with all the latest news from the heart of the State of Israel. I'm Emily Schrader. Be well, and thank you so much for watching.